Okay, today's how-to is going to be me learning how to tune my motorcycle. I've never done this before. It's been a while since my bike has had a tune-up, and I have heard there are 3 things to do. Adjust the cam chain, then we're going to see if we can get in and do the valve clearance, and then we're going to check and dress the points, the breaker points. I'm cautiously optimistic that I will have a running bike by the end of this, because it runs now. Yeah. There's my spark plug. I had this spark plug wrench that I got as part of my Honda toolkit, thanks 4-into-1, and it doesn't fit. It's like a 17mm on this end, which is just too small, and then I don't know what it is on the other end, but it's way too big. So then I found this spark plug socket, says fits all spark plugs. Not true. This one is also too big. So the reason I've learned that it is important to remove the spark plugs is to make it easier to turn the engine over manually when you hit the compression stroke, because then it won't be fighting against the compression of the cylinder. But but it's not impossible to turn it. It's just we can't analyze the spark plugs or free up that compression stroke without removing them. But I'm not willing to use the wrong tool for the job and mess up my head, right? Cylinder. Uh-oh. Is that bad? It's just tube. All I see is tube.
Really?
Okay, so, yak shaving at its finest. Oh, I see the metal bit now. It's a wire, it's not a metal bit. It's not threaded on this end, it's just a wire. Boot, reestablish. We have to remove the alternator cover in order to position the engine with the pistons each halfway up, says the YouTube video I watched. So, the alternator cover, though, it has some oil in it. That was the oil that started coming out when I replaced this screw, and I was like, whoa! But apparently there's only a couple ounces of oil in here, and since we're on the center stand and we're moderately level, we'll just check the oil before we leave this position anyway. Although aren't you supposed to check the oil when the engine's warm? Okay, the very first time removing this cover, and I do have the gaskets. That's important in case one of these gaskets is totally trash or rips or something. Haha! Yeah, having your oil bucket have a screen on top of it is very helpful, so you don't drop stuff in your oil all the time. I love it when tools do their job. I'm scared to take a part of my motorcycle off. Okay. That screw is, yes, also the same length.
But it has the gaskets at a different position. Or is that just random?
Yeah, it's just because the screw. Whoa, there we go. Ooh, exciting! Gasket seems intact. This looks really clean in here compared to some of the videos I've been watching of inside people's alternator covers. Look how clean it is in there. This is all shiny and everything's the same color. I learned that it's like a sewing machine where you have to turn it the right way when you're trying to turn it over. You can kind of rock it back and forth a little bit, but really you should only turn it complete revolutions in the direction of the arrow, which is counterclockwise. Pulling out my trusty climber manual. We have verified that this screw, this lock nut assembly in the middle front dead center is the cam chain tensioner adjustment screw, and we just need to see what it says about which position the engine needs to be in to release the pressure on that. Okay, so on the registration mark is supposed to be top dead center. That means that the whichever cylinder that's referring to, probably the left one, maybe the right one, we don't know yet, is high in the jug. 90 degrees from this guy, right? With my square, I have already determined, you with your parallax, you won't be able to tell any of this if it's right, but believe me, that I squared it up from the T, and with a second opinion have decided that the 90 degrees is pretty much dead center of this gray circle here. So that's what I'm gonna put. I'm gonna put the engine in that position. This is supposed to be an easy one. We're having an easy time. And it's supposed to be on the compression stroke. This one, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I can feel resistance on the wrench, so that's why I'm gonna think it's in the compression stroke. And I put it right there. right there. This is the cam chain tensioner adjustment double screw. On my bike, it's a 10 millimeter, this one, lock nut, and an 8 millimeter regular nut, bolt, sorry. I've been told that the cam chain tensioner is spring-loaded inside, and so all you have to do is loosen the lock nut, loosen the bolt, then tighten the bolt, and then tighten the lock nut. And while the engine's in the right position, that's going to let the cam chain tensioner expand into its absolute position. Okay, lock nut's loose. Well, I didn't hear like a clank or a pop of like a spring, but that is okay. You don't have to hear the clank. Okay. I feel like it's sticking out a little further than it was before, but maybe it's just clean now because it cleaned it. It was covered in gunk. Okay, that should be that. Cam chain tensioner adjusted. So I have cold feet about removing the tappets. It's these like really thin cast alloy caps on the valve that make the valve covers are really brittle and have gaskets, right? There's gaskets. So I'm nervous that if we take them off now, if we like take the tank off now, we're not going to get home by dinner time. So the next chapter of Becky's Complete Idiot's Guide to Trying Something for the First Time is skipping the valve clearance adjustment for now and taking a look at the points. There they are.
Those points.
Look at whoever tightened this down, like pinched this cable in there.
Oh yeah, that's not good.
That doesn't look right, huh? It's a switch that opens and closes like as much as the engine revolves. If you're at 2,000 RPMs, it's opening and closing this switch 2,000 times a minute. So like that's why they wear out and they need to be adjusted every like 1,500 miles. It's supposed to be really flat, and you can see that there's some not flatness, and that's from the electrical charge going through it causes some stuff to build up. So you're supposed to use a file, but I'm not going to use a file. I'm going to use sandpaper. It says you're not supposed to use sandpaper because it doesn't want little metal bits to get like all up in here. We're going to hit it with the air, the compressed air, to blow out any other bits, and then we're going to wipe the contact with a little damp paper towel with rubbing alcohol. So to hell with my manicure, huh? I think it looks nicer this way, don't you? A little motor oil for accent. I mean, my fingernails are coming in handy. They're just not, these parts are not really forgiving to my gel nail polish. The 200 points are hard to find online. But maybe I just didn't look hard enough. Oh, here's the smart way to sand it. Just pinch it in between and then pull it out, kind of like the feeler gauge.
Oh, right, yeah.
Duh, instead of trying to apply pressure to something I can't really reach. Turn the crankshaft over with a wrench on the alternator retaining nut until the breaker points are open to the maximum gap. Measure the breaker point gap with the feeler gauge. Point gap should be 0.012 to 0.016 inches, or 0.3 to 0.4 millimeters. It's tight on 3. It's like really snug on 4. So I think it's fine, actually. I think my bike might only have one of these.
I think you're right.
That doesn't make any sense though. Okay, moment of truth. We took it apart. We put it back together. Let's see if it runs. In neutral. Kill switch on. Clutch in for safety anyway. Yay! I would like to see I can kick it. I don't know that my knee is strong enough today to kick it at all, but we'll just try. So I guess my question is, did that tiny bit of sanding, the tiny little bit of cleaning I did to that one breaker point, did that make it be able to kick over? That doesn't make any sense. Cool. All right. We're out of here. This has been Becky's Idiot's Guide to Trying Something for the First Time. Thank you for watching.